Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown review. Smackdown tonight was from the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. And this was Smackdown's go-home show for Survivor Series WarGames, which is tomorrow night, which is going to take place also from the Allstate Arena. And looking forward to Survivor Series WarGames tomorrow night. Should be a good show. But Smackdown tonight, what an awful show this was. Terrible show, waste of time. It was a throwaway show, in my opinion. And the show mainly revolved around Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Shotzi, and Bianca Belair, going into Survivor Series WarGames against Damage Control, Bayley, Io Sky, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. That was pretty much basically what the show revolved around tonight. But tonight, we had Damian Priest and Finn Balor versus the Street Profits for the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. Why did we get this? This was a waste. It was absolutely predictable. And, it made no sense. You got a heel team versus a heel team. Who are we supposed to root for as the baby faces? We also had LA Knight and Kevin Owens. Yes, Kevin Owens returned tonight after coming off his suspension. So, taking on Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. We had Pretty Deadly versus the Brawling Brutes. Pretty awful, as I would call them, versus the Brawling Brutes. And the main event, we had Bayley and Asuka versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. And of course, they did the whole Vince McMahon shtick where, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, can they coexist? Yeah, so that was SmackDown tonight. Awful, terrible show this was. And SmackDown, was not on Fox tonight. It was on FS1 because they were doing college football on Fox. But before I get into the review, if you guys haven't checked out my previous videos that I did, of course, my annual Thanksgiving morning vlog. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. And I also reviewed The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which, I uploaded earlier today. So check that out if you guys haven't seen it. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. SmackDown opened up with Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch ended up coming out. She ended up coming out with Shotzi, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch. Those are your four women going into WarGames against Damage Control. Bayley, Io Sky, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. So they got into the ring. Fans ended up chanting for Becky. Becky got on the mic. She ended up saying that it has been a while, but she is happy to stand in the ring and say that the man has come around on SmackDown. She ended up saying that she knows people have been worrying why she has agreed to team with who she is teaming with. She ended up saying, but when the offer comes to slap the head off Damage Control, the answer is always going to be a yes. And Becky, when she ended up saying that she agreed to team with who she is teaming with, that was obviously Charlotte Flair, because Charlotte ended up giving a call to Becky, and it was shown on WWE's social media page, last week. So Becky ended up saying, what better place to do that than Chicago at WarGames, Survivor Series WarGames. So Bianca then got on the mic. She ended up saying, now that they have four members and a solid team, WarGames is the match for them to get their licks back. So the fans were behind Bianca Belair. They were chanting EST. Bianca then ended up telling the fans that she loves them. And of course, we got woo chant from the fans as Charlotte ended up doing a woo. So Bianca ended up saying, but at WarGames, when Damage Control goes low, They won't just go lower, but they'll go to war. So Shotzi end up laughing. She ends up saying that she can barely contain herself thinking about all the carnage. And I don't know about you guys, but in my opinion, I thought Shotzi was coming off very corny here on the mic, just laughing, jumping up and down. Oh, I can't contain myself. I can't. But she ended up saying that Damage Control humiliated her when they held her down and cut her hair. But they made her stronger, unpredictable, and unbreakable. And Shotzi ended up saying that she can't wait to unleash her madness on them. So Charlotte looked at Shotzi. She ended up saying what Shotzi said, of course, to the fans. And the fans, of course, woo! Again. So Charlotte ended up saying that WarGames is a new beginning for them. She ended up saying that looking at Becky. She ended up saying that WarGames is the end for Damage Control. And then she got interrupted by Bayley. Bayley ended up coming out. Fans ended up booing Bayley. And she got on the mic. She ended up saying, "Hello to you too, idiots." Bayley ended up saying that she didn't think she would see the day where Charlotte and Becky are standing together, fighting the good fight together. She ended up saying that everyone knows that she knows them the longest. She ended up saying that when her and Charlotte had a car ride together, Charlotte always said something about Becky. She ended up saying that when she would speak to Becky, she would take a stab at Charlotte. She ended up saying that it's two egos clashing, fighting to the top. And Bayley ended up saying that she gets it. Bayley ended up saying that being a mom has made Becky soft. She ended up saying that it seems to her that Becky is fine with being picked last, and that she is the last resort. She is picked last, probably like she was picked last in school. So Bayley ended up saying WarGames is one of the most brutal matches of all time, and you need a cohesive unit, and the only cohesive unit is Damage Control. Charlotte then ended up telling Bayley she is out here alone. She ended up asking Bayley where her team members are. So Becky ended up saying that she didn't come to Chicago to talk, and that she came looking for a fight. Becky then ended up challenging two from Bayley's team against her and Charlotte Flair in the main event. So Bayley ended up saying that is exactly what she wanted, and how their team is going to implode. So pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. But overall, what a very meh opening to SmackDown tonight. This was, like I said, this was what revolved around the show. With the woman going to Survivor Series WarGames. And, going, from Charlotte and Becky, to Shotzi, and also to Bianca Belair. That's all we got. That's all we got tonight. And then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had the first match of the night. We had the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest versus the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. This is for the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. Priest and Balor defend the titles. And this match did not make any sense whatsoever. I mean, you got these two teams. Both teams are heels. Who are the baby faces going into this match? None of them. This was completely pointless and predictable. It was absolutely predictable who was going to win the match going into it. So the match got underway. Montez Ford and Damian Priest started off the match. And both Ford and Priest were delivering some right hands to each other. Priest delivered a kick to the side of Ford's head. Priest ended up going for a splash in the corner, but Montez Ford moved out of the way. Balor ended up tagging in. He ended up going for a backdrop to Ford, but Ford ended up landing on his feet. And Dawkins ended up tagging in. Dawkins then delivered a back elbow onto Balor. And then Dawkins knocked Priest off the apron. Dawkins went to the ropes. He ended up hitting the spin back elbow to Balor. Dawkins then delivered a splash in the corner to Balor. Priest got into the ring, and Dawkins delivered a double underhook neck breaker. Ford then ended up tagging in, and the Profits end up landing a blockbuster onto Balor. So Ford ended up going for the cover, and Balor ended up kicking out. Ford ended up climbing the top rope, and he jumped off the top, but Balor moved out of the way. Ford landed on his feet, and Balor delivered a sling blade to Ford. Priest then ended up tagging in, so Balor and Priest double teamed on Montez Ford. Priest went for the cover, and Dawkins kicked out. Priest then ended up running to the ropes, and we had both Ford and Dawkins end up double teaming on Priest. Ford ended up going for the cover, but Balor broke up the pin. Dawkins then ended up going for the spear on Balor, but Balor moved out of the way, and Dawkins ended up hitting the ring post. Ford then delivered a super kick onto Balor, and then a super kick onto Priest. Ford then climbed the top rope, and Rhea Ripley, who was, of course, at ringside, she got on the apron to distract the ref. Balor then tripped Montez Ford up. Priest then lifted Montez Ford up. He tagged in Balor. Priest delivered a slam to Ford, and then Balor ended up going for the coup de grace. Balor then ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Balor and Priest end up winning the match, retaining the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. Obviously predictable. We all knew this was, going to happen going into the match. But match made no sense whatsoever. And who were the baby faces going into this match? None of them. Well, the Profits are a heel team, and Priest and Balor are a heel team, with the Judgment Day. So we saw Bobby Lashley and B-Fab. They were watching backstage. Bobby Lashley was not happy with the Profits losing. Lashley then walked away, and the Judgment Day were shown celebrating in the ring. And that was that. So then we went backstage, and we saw Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair ended up telling her WarGames teammates that she spoke to Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce, and that their match is on for tonight. Becky ended up saying to Charlotte that would have been her job. So Becky and Charlotte began to argue. Bianca ended up trying to calm things down. Becky then ended up saying that she came here to fight everybody. And pretty much that was basically that. Becky walked away. So the whole can Becky and Charlotte coexist comes into play. And then we had the Grayson Waller effect. Grayson Waller ended up coming out there. He welcomed everyone to the Grayson Waller effect. He ended up saying that he has not been getting along with his guest, but this could be the start to a friendship. So Grayson Waller welcomed Kevin Owens to the Grayson Waller effect. So we had Kevin Owens' music end up playing, but we did not get Kevin Owens. We got Austin Theory. Austin Theory came out. He was wearing a Kevin Owens shirt. And so Theory got into the ring. He sat next to his buddy Grayson Waller. Fans ended up booing. And Kevin Owens' music ended up hitting again. And this time, Kevin Owens ended up coming out. So Owens ended up getting on the mic. He ended up asking Theory and Waller, what are they doing? Owens ended up saying that he is the guest on the Grayson Waller effect. So Waller ended up telling Owens that he is suspended. Well, Kevin Owens ended up telling Waller that he was suspended, and the suspension ended today. He ended up saying that he thought that's why he announced him as his guest, as he would offer him an olive branch, that they can share a grilled cheese in catering. Waller ended up saying that Austin Theory was supposed to come out, and they were going to make fun of Kevin Owens. Owens ended up asking Austin Theory where he got his shorts from. because he hasn't seen those shorts in months. Owens then ended up saying that he should punch both Waller and Theory in the face at the same time. So Waller ended up saying 2 weeks ago, Kevin Owens cost him his match with LA Knight. To which Kevin Owens ended up saying, when you keep saying someone's name, something will happen. Waller then ended up asking Austin Theory what he is talking about. And Austin Theory ended up telling Waller that he is probably talking about LA Knight or something. So that brought out LA Knight. He came out to a big pop there. And LA Knight got on the mic. Of course, he does his, let me talk to you. So LA Knight ended up telling Waller and Austin Theory that Kevin Owens tried to warn them that Owens would not be here, but they got caught. He ended up saying that he thought he would let Kevin Owens punch both of them at the same time, but then they started talking about him, and they didn't stop. He ended up saying that he figured if they are going to talk about Owens, that means they got caught again. Knight ended up telling Waller that it doesn't make any difference if Kevin Owens was there or his friend, A-Town Clown. He will lose to him every time. So Waller ended up telling Knight that isn't true. Kevin Owens and Grayson Waller ended up arguing. Waller ended up telling Austin Theory that they should punch Knight and Kevin Owens in the face at the same time. So Kevin Owens asked LA Knight if he wants to punch them first. And LA Knight ended up telling Owens, yeah. And so both Knight and Owens punched both Grayson Waller and Austin Theory out of the ring. And that was how the segment ended. But overall, waste of time this was. Waste of a segment. And then we had Kevin Owens and LA Knight versus Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. This was a decent match here. Match got underway. Grayson Waller and Kevin Owens started off the match. Owens delivered some chops to Waller's chest, and he had thrown Waller into the ropes. Owens then delivered a right hand. So LA Knight then tagged in. Knight started delivering some right hands to Waller. Knight then delivered a clothesline to Waller, which was followed up by a suplex. Knight ended up going for the cover, and Waller kicked out. Knight then ended up going to the ropes, and Austin Theory lowered the top rope, and Knight ended up falling to the outside. Waller went to the outside, but Knight ended up slamming both Theory and Waller into the commentary table. Knight then threw Waller back into the ring. Austin Theory then grabbed Knight, but Knight delivered a right hand to Theory. Waller was on the outside, and he had pinned Knight with a right hand. And that's when SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Kevin Owens was in control of the match. He delivered right hands onto Grayson Waller. Waller ended up rolling to the outside. Kevin Owens went to the ouside. He ended up pinning Waller and Austin Theory with some clotheslines. Owens then threw Waller back into the ring. He ended up pinning Theory with a super kick. Kevin Owens ended up getting on the ring apron, ended up pinning Austin Theory with a cannonball. Owens then climbed to the top rope. He ended up pinning Waller with a swanton bomb. So Owens ended up going for the cover. Waller kicked out. Owens then ended up trying to go for the stunner, but Waller ended up pushing Owens away. Waller then tagged Theory into the ring. Theory then delivered a drop kick onto Owens. Waller was then tagged back in, and him and Theory ended up delivering a backbreaker to Owens, and Waller delivered an elbow off the second rope. Waller ended up going for the cover, and Kevin Owens ended up kicking out. Waller then locked in a rear chin lock on Owens, but Owens got to his feet. Theory then ended up tagging in. Waller ended up knocking Knight off the ring apron. Theory then delivered a rolling blockbuster onto Kevin Owens. Theory ended up going for the cover, and Owens ended up kicking out. Theory then pushed Owens into the corner, and Waller then tagged in. Theory then delivered a backbreaker to Owens. Waller ended up climbing and walked the second rope. He ended up going for an elbow drop, but Kevin Owens moved out of the way. So Knight was then tagged in, and Knight delivered some punches and a clothesline to Austin Theory, which he was tagged in, Austin Theory. So we had Knight end up delivering an atomic drop and a clothesline to Theory. Knight ended up hitting Waller with the DDT. Knight ended up getting both Waller and Theory in the corner. He ended up hitting them both with a running knee to the face. So Knight delivered a power slam onto Theory. Knight then delivered an elbow drop. He ended up going for the cover, but Grayson Waller broke up the pin. Waller got on the ring apron. Theory then ended up grabbing Knight, but Owens ended up pulling Knight down. Waller ended up getting the ring, and Owens ended up hitting Waller with the stunner. Knight then ended up hitting Theory with the BFT, the blunt force trauma. So he ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Kevin Owens and LA Knight ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a decent match between Owens, Knight, Waller, and Theory. And then we went backstage, and we saw Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair was telling Becky Lynch that she made the choice to come and help them, and that she has to put that aside. And they were able to put their differences aside. Bianca ended up telling Becky if they want to walk out in one piece at WarGames, they need to be together. Becky then ended up telling them, forget that she is a hothead, but she will keep her cool. So pretty much that was that. And then we had Carlito. He ended up coming out with that awful music for him. Please bring back the original Carlito theme. I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool. We need that back. Instead of this awful fucking music that they gave him here. That they've been giving him. It doesn't fit Carlito. So Carlito got on the mic. He ended up saying that his match tomorrow at Survivor Series WarGames will be his first match in a WWE ring at a premium live event in almost 13 years. Wow, that's crazy. He ended up saying, and that's cool. But before Carlito cut this promo, forgot to mention we saw, clips of last week's show with Santos Escobar attacking the LWO, and Carlito ended up run down, making the save. So we saw that, Santos Escobar, was, a heel, and they brought back his heel theme music, which is awesome. So Carlito ended up saying all he can think about is Rey Mysterio. And all he can think about is getting his hands on the person who injured Rey, and that is Santos Escobar. Carlito ended up saying that Santos said some bad things about Rey, and he had a message for Carlito. Carlito ended up saying that he has a message for Santos, and he will say it in Spanish. So he ended up saying what he had to say to Santos in Spanish. He ended up calling Santos a rat. He ended up saying that at Survivor Series WarGames, he will get revenge for Rey Mysterio. So Carlito ended up telling Santos that he made a big mistake. So out came Santos Escobar. Santos Escobar got on the mic. He ended up telling Carlito. He heard him perfectly. So fans started to boo Escobar. Escobar ended up saying that Carlito doesn't even represent the LWO colors. Escobar ended up telling Carlito that Rey was always his family, and that the LWO was his family. He ended up saying that if it wasn't for Carlito, an outsider, his family would still be together. So Escobar ended up saying that it is Carlito's fault that Rey is injured. So Escobar was now on the ring apron. Carlito ended up grabbing him, and both Carlito and Escobar ended up fighting to the outside of the ring. Carlito then threw Escobar into the barricade. We had officials coming out to break it up between Escobar and Carlito. Escobar headed to the back. Officials continued to stop Carlito, and we see Escobar. Santos ended up coming from between the crowd, and he hit Carlito with a flying knee. So pretty much that was basically that. But overall, I thought this was a decent segment here. Carlito coming out there, announcing that this is going to be his first match in a WWE ring in almost 13 years. And then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw Carlito. Carlito was shown holding his arm. Santos Escobar, once again, jumped Carlito, and he pulled on Carlito's arm. And then we see Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee ended up hitting Escobar with a right hand. Dragon Lee then ended up hitting Escobar with the Hurricanrana. And pretty much that was basically that. But will Carlito still fight Santos Escobar? We'll see later on, because we got an update from Nick Aldis later on in the show. So we'll get to that. And then we had Pretty Deadly, Pretty Awful versus the Brawling Brutes, Ridge Holland and Butch. So the match was just meh, in my opinion. So the match got underway. Ridge Holland delivered a clothesline onto Kit Wilson. He ended up hitting Elton Prince with a right hand. Prince ended up taking himself in, as did Butch. So we had Butch and Ridge Holland end up getting Pretty Deadly on the ring apron. They end up going for the 10 beats of the Bottering. Prince ended up hitting Butch with a right hand. Ridge Holland ended up looking at Butch, and he grabbed Elton Prince. But Kit Wilson ended up hitting Ridge Holland to the outside. Butch then standing in the corner, and Ridge Holland, who was on the outside, Ridge Holland walked to the back. So it was just, Elton Prince and Kit Wilson, Pretty Deadly, versus Butch. 2-on-1 now. So Elton Prince delivered a back elbow onto Butch. Kit Wilson ended up taking in. Pretty Deadly double teamed on Butch. We had Wilson end up going for the cover, and Butch ended up kicking out. Prince then ended up taking back in. Butch delivered a right hand on Kit Wilson, and he ended up hitting Prince with a big boot to his face. He ended up going for the cover, and we had Butch end up kicking out. Butch ended up twisting Elton Prince's fingers, and Kit Wilson ended up taking himself in. Butch ended up hitting Prince with the bitter end. Kit Wilson then rolled Butch up, and there you go. Pretty Deadly, or Pretty Awful, ended up winning the match. Overall, very meh match this was. And why did Ridge Holland walk out on Butch? I always sensed in, maybe we'll get maybe a breakup of Ridge Holland and Butch. Sheamus is still out with an injury. But this is the end of the Brawling Brutes. We'll have to wait and see. So then we saw Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair was in the locker room, and in came Shotzi. Shotzi ended up telling Charlotte that when Damage Control bullied her, it changed her. And she felt like everyone was looking at her as if she was weird. Shotzi then ended up asking Charlotte if Charlotte remembers what she told her when she saw her. Charlotte ended up saying she is beautiful. And Charlotte ended up hugging Shotzi. Shotzi ended up telling Charlotte she helped her when she was at her lowest. And maybe Becky is still hurt by the past. She ended up saying maybe some words from Charlotte could change things for Becky, the way it changed things for her. So that was that. And then we had Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton was backstage with SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis ended up telling Kayla Braxton that he has an update on Carlito. He ended up saying that Carlito is hurt badly. He ended up saying that Carlito is not in any condition to fight tomorrow night, and he has to postpone his match tomorrow against Santos Escobar. So in came Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee ended up asking Nick Aldis to put him in the match against Santos Escobar. So Nick Aldis ended up saying that Dragon Lee will face Santos Escobar tomorrow night at Survivor Series WarGames. So that was that. That's going to be a good match there. Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar. Looking forward to it. And then we saw the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day, we're sitting backstage. We had Rhea Ripley end up saying, oh, the Judgment Day runs all of WWE. They end up cutting a promo about their War Games match. Priest ended up telling Orton, if it's not his tag team partner attacking him again, the Judgment Day will make sure he won't have another comeback. So that was that. You know, that promo by the Judgment Day. Main event, Bayley and Asuka versus Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Before the match got underway, we saw Charlotte Flair and Becky. They were backstage. Charlotte ended up asking Becky if she is good. Becky ended up telling Charlotte she is good. So they were just going back and forth saying, are you good? Are you good? I'm good. Pretty much that was basically that. But this was just very meh match here. You know, this is all done because, oh, can Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, can they coexist? So pretty much, basically, we had Becky Lynch end up coming out, and then Charlotte, they end up walking to the ring. So the match got underway. Becky and Bayley end up starting the match off. Becky delivered a suplex to Bayley, and Bayley rolled to the outside. Charlotte was then tagged in, and Becky delivered a baseball slide onto Bayley. Asuka was on the outside, and Becky delivered a right hand onto Asuka. Charlotte then climbed the top rope, and she hit them both with her awful looking moonsault. Please, can Charlotte do a good moonsault? Please. Her moonsaults are absolutely fucking awful. So then SmackDown came back from the commercial. Bayley and Becky were in the ring. Bayley ended up pushing Becky into the corner. Asuka was then tagged in. Asuka started stomping on Becky, and Asuka delivered an armbar, and she ended up slamming Becky onto the mat. Asuka ended up grabbing Becky. Becky then delivered a jawbreaker to Asuka, which was followed by a kick to the side of Asuka's head. Bayley was then tagged in, as did Charlotte. So Charlotte was on the top rope. Charlotte ended up hitting the crossbody onto both Bayley and Asuka. Charlotte then delivered chops onto both of them. Charlotte delivered a fallaway slam onto Becky, and then she delivered a clothesline to Bayley. So Charlotte ended up going for the cover. Bayley ended up kicking out. Charlotte then delivered a big boot onto Asuka, and she kicked her off the apron. Charlotte then ended up rolling Bayley up, but Bayley ended up kicking out. Charlotte then delivered a big boot to Bayley. She ended up going for the cover again, and Bayley ended up kicking out. Charlotte then ended up grabbing Bayley, and Asuka ended up tagging in. Asuka delivered a code breaker onto Charlotte. She ended up going for the cover, and Charlotte kicked out. We had Bayley being tagged back in, and Bayley and Asuka ended up double teaming on Charlotte. Bayley ended up going for the cover, and Becky ended up breaking up the pin. So Asuka and Bayley ended up throwing Becky to the outside. Bayley then delivered a chop block onto Charlotte. Bayley then grabbed Charlotte by her leg, but Charlotte ended up kicking Bayley away, and Becky was then tagged in. So Becky delivered a clothesline onto Bayley. Asuka got into the ring, and Becky ended up delivering a drop kick onto Asuka. Becky then grabbed both Bayley and Asuka. She ended up hitting both of them with a double DDT. She ended up going for the cover, and Bayley ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, we had Becky deliver the manhandle slam to Bayley. So Becky ended up going for the cover. Asuka got into the ring, and Charlotte speared Asuka, and Asuka fell onto Becky, breaking up the pin. So Becky ended up getting up. She ended up going face to face with Charlotte. Of course, the whole "can they coexist" came into play. So Bayley ended up pushing Becky from behind onto Charlotte, and Charlotte ended up falling to the outside. Bayley ended up rolling Becky up, and there you go. Bayley and Asuka ended up winning the match. Post-match, Charlotte and Becky were in the ring. Becky was angry at Charlotte. Bianca and Shotzi got in between Becky and Charlotte, and they ended up breaking it up as Becky left the ring. And that was how SmackDown went off the air. Overall, what a very meh match this was. This was only done for, can Charlotte and Becky coexist? Well, very meh match this was. But what an awful SmackDown this was tonight. No, it didn't get you no hype up for Survivor Series WarGames tomorrow. But hopefully Survivor Series WarGames will be a good show tomorrow. Looking forward to it. But anyways, that's it for the SmackDown review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until the next video, which will be a review of Survivor Series WarGames, I'll see you all tomorrow with that review. So, see you all later.